Thanks for tuning back in to another episode of the Real Health Podcast. We are excited to bring you commuter-style podcasts, content that is short, sweet, to the point, but adds value to your life. We are on all podcast platforms as well as YouTube. If you want to watch the video, we have a YouTube channel that you can check out as well. Please, if you have enjoyed and found value in what we are providing you, we would love a review. We'd love a 5-star review. So please make that review happen for us, as that only helps get our mission of reaching more people with real health knowledge. All right, so let's dive in. Kind of a headliner. So if you were to think about that phrase, headline in the newspaper, this is it. How kombucha is actually harmful. How kombucha is harmful. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're actually going to talk about the health benefits of kombucha, but we're also going to talk about the dangers of kombucha. And we need to frame out why we're drinking kombucha, how much we're drinking, when we should drink it, and what types we should drink. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to kind of get into the idea of digestive health, and specifically we're going to address that healthy fermented drink called kombucha. All right, so let's kind of frame this out by understanding the digestive system as a whole. So your gut, your digestive system, is really going to be healthy from bacteria from two different ways. So your gut should have a lot of bacteria. So it should have trillions of bacteria, okay? But it should also have a high level of diversity of those bacteria. So two things should be present in the gut. The first is you should have a lot of bacteria, so quantity. And the second is diversity. Those bacteria should be diverse. Okay, so it's not just about having a lot, it's also having diversity. And the diversity component is why kombucha can be dangerous. Before we get to that, let's go back to the gut. Okay, and let's talk about bacteria or probiotics. There are a lot of different types of probiotics. There are more of like what you would consider the fermented type, right? These are bacteria that maybe it's a probiotic you keep in the fridge. And then there are soil-based probiotics. And these SBOs, or soil-based organisms, these are shelf-stable, so you don't actually have to put these in the fridge. So there's different types of probiotics, and it's important to know that if you are taking a probiotic, you should not be taking the same one all the time for the rest of your life. And the reason why is there's a term we're going to use on today's episode called monoculturing. Mono meaning one or single, and culturing meaning the culture community or the organisms as a whole. Okay, so when we think about taking a singular probiotic, or if we think about taking a single brand type of kombucha, what we're really getting is the same organisms. We're getting the exact same organisms. And if we get the same organisms, even though we're getting a lot of them, that can be actually dangerous to your health. Why? Because, right, we just talked about diversity being so important to gut health or the balance of a healthy digestive system. So through monoculturing, or through the excessive consumption of a single probiotic or bacterial species, you can create, in essence, an overgrowth of this organism that they can create harm to the gut. This is the same concept with SIBO, or what we term small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is when actually good bacteria, they go into the small intestine and they create this fermentation of your food, specifically starches and carbohydrates, are fermented in the small intestine. The small intestine should be relatively sterile. There really shouldn't be a ton of bacteria in your small intestine. Most of the bacteria should be in your large intestine. But due to like overconsumption of a singular food and reduction of hydrochloric acid and some other factors, we can literally have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And this, in the same way, our colon can actually propagate a singular species of organisms. So when we're drinking the same drink every single day, or we're taking the same probiotic every single day, we are monoculturing our digestive system, and we're not creating diversity. This can lead to not only bacterial overgrowth issues, but actually can create fungal or yeast overgrowth issues. Remember that kombucha is not just healthy bacteria, but there's also yeast in kombucha as well. And so the overproduction or overconsumption of the same bacteria and yeast can create a fungal, not an infection, but fungal overgrowth. And a bacterial, not infection, but bacterial overgrowth. And through that, we could get excessive bloating, we can get poor digestion, we can get constipation or loose stools, we can create IBS symptoms, all because of drinking what we thought was super healthy. So, okay, public service announcement. Don't drink the same kombucha every day for the rest of your life. When you go to the store, if you've been buying Bucci brand, go Health Aid. If you've been drinking Health Aid, go GTs. If you've been drinking GTs, go to Dr. Brew. Go to something else. And you're fine consuming that bacteria from that kombucha maybe for that week or 2 weeks or even that month, but the next month or the next week or the next couple weeks, let's just switch it up. Go to the store and just grab something different. A different brand is going to produce a different set of organisms. That company has kind of a uniqueness within their, we call them Scoobies, but those Scoobies that help ferment or create the fermentation process, that group of bacteria is going to be unique to that company. And so switching up your kombucha is so vital to the diversity of the gut. And then the second thing is, if you're taking bacteria from probiotics, change your probiotics. Don't take the same probiotic all the time. So what we do in the office is we advise our patients to do like a fermented-based probiotic 1 month, and then a soil-based or a spore-based probiotic the next month, and then just constantly fluctuate between the two. We want quantity. So we want to be consuming these fermented organisms, okay? We want to be consuming these fermented foods and having a high quantity of organisms. But diversity is just as important, okay? And not only are we going to get that from changing up our fermented foods, and not only are we going to get that from changing up our probiotics, but remember this too, that those bacteria in your gut, they're feeding off of the food that you're consuming. So if you're eating the same food and consuming the same polyphenols and antioxidants from the same vegetables and the same fruits that you consume every day. You eat a banana, an apple, and broccoli every day or every week. And you don't really change up the food that you're consuming, the different fibers and the different antioxidants and polyphenols from all these different plants, you're going to create the same problem. So not only do we want to diversify our fermented foods, we also want to diversify our actual carbohydrates coming from plants and fruits. So kind of the take-home message of today's episode is, hey, if you've been drinking kombucha, great. Way to check that box. If you've been consuming sauerkraut and kimchi, great. Way to check that box. But switch brands, 1. 2, if you've been taking a probiotic, great. You've been checking that box. Awesome. Switch brands. And if you've been eating the same foods over and over again, even though they're healthy, hey, why don't you just try, especially in springtime, to diversify your diet and create diversity of your gut microbiome. I guarantee this will help you. It'll help your digestive system. It'll help your gut get healthier. Cool. So kombucha, the dangers, it's called monoculturing. And just be very careful with how you're consuming your fermented foods. Thanks for listening in to another episode of the Real Health Podcast.